time yet? 10:45. Good morning. The June 7th, 2018 special meeting of the Board of Estimate is now called to order. In the interest of promoting the order and efficiencies of these hearings, persons who are disruptive to the hearing will be asked to leave the hearing room immediately. Meetings of the Board of Estimates are open to the public for the duration of the meeting. The hearing room must be vacated at the conclusion of the meeting. Failure to comply may result in a charge of trespassing. Before I proceed, I would like to give an overview of this meeting's agenda. First, we will receive the report by the City Council on adoption of the fiscal year 2019 operating and capital budget ordinance. Second, the board will adopt and certify the real and personal property tax rate for fiscal year 2019. At this time, I would like to recognize members of the City Council who have joined me here today. Councilman Ed Reisinger is with us. Chairman Costello, Councilwoman Clark, Councilman Stokes, Councilman Schleifer, and I said Councilman Reisinger. Any other council members that I might have missed? Okay. I want to thank you all for being here. Thank the council people who voted that we can advance this budget. That was very critical because if we hadn't have done that, we would have had to call extra council meetings. So I want to thank Councilwoman Clark, Councilman Schleifer, and all of the Councilman Reisinger, Councilman Stokes, and the 12 who voted with us to make sure that we can be here today to move this budget forward. Now I would like to recognize Councilman Eric Costello. He's the chair of the Budget and Appropriation Committee who will present the adopted budget to the board. Councilman Costello.
Thank you, Mr. President, Madam Mayor, Madam Comptroller, and members of the Board of Estimates. I'm pleased to report that the City Council Budget and Appropriations Committee, as well as the entire council, has passed the operating budget for fiscal year 2019. Madam Mayor, I'd like to specifically thank you for presenting a budget which included all of our shared priorities from last year, which clearly indicates our shared value for these shared priorities. So thank you very much for your leadership in that. And Mr. President, I'd also like to thank you for your leadership throughout the budget process. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for the budget chair? Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you. At this time, I will open the floor and recognize Mr. Bob Sinema, Director of the Bureau of Budget and Management Research. You can step forward and do a brief.
Thank you, Mr. President, Madam Mayor, Madam Comptroller, members of the board. My name is Bob Sinema, Budget Director for the city, and today, now that the council has passed the ordinance of estimates for fiscal 2019, the final step is for the board to certify the property tax rates for next year. We're recommending the property tax rate on real property, $2.248 per $100 of assessed value, and personal property rate of 5.62 per $100 of assessed value. These were the same rates that were presented in the proposed budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, I will open the floor to the mayor for any comments and to any other member of the board who wish to speak after the comptroller. I will be the last one.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I'd like to thank you. I'd like to thank our Chairman Costello and the entire Budget and Appropriations Committee and all of the City Council people who are here and those of you who have deliberated fairly over this budget. I'd also like to thank our Budget Director, Bob Sinema. This is his first budget director as chair of our budget, and I thank him because of the work that he's done and his team has done, and the Department of Finance. Your demeanor speaks well for you and speaks well for the city. I'd also like to take a moment to thank my staff, our Director of Legislative Government Affairs, as well as her team who have worked so diligently with the council. You know, our goal is to continue to work together. And let me just say, Mr. President and Comptroller, and to all the City Council persons, that I believe that this is a great partnership. We believe in the priorities of the city, but we also know that compromise and working together is how we continue to move our city forward. Oftentimes, when we're doing what we think that we should do, we may miss some things, and so it is important that we reflect carefully over the needs of the various districts in our city and that we understand the needs of our council as we deliberate over the needs of our city. This budget reflects our priorities. Investing in safe streets is important to all of us. You all know that reducing violence in our city is a high priority. While we reduced violence by some 23, almost 24% this year, we know that it is not enough. Further funding in terms of technology is important to our police department, but also getting policing right in our city. AROCA is a new program that we're introducing this year. We believe that its focus on 17 to 24-year-olds will help us to reduce violence again in our city. Strengthening public safety agencies is also very important. You all realize that through the Violence Reduction Initiative that we've been able to put our city agencies in the same room with our commanders, and we believe that that reflects on the reduction in violence in our city. This budget also reflects our commitment, once again, to education. I think together last year we talked about our need to support and continue to invest in our young people. The $90 million commitment remains in this budget for the next 3 years. We've also added another $2 million in capital funding for a total of $19 million to assist our schools with their HVAC and maintenance issues that became apparent during this cold winter months. Let me also remind us that our city's school budget's operating budget is about $1.3 billion. And I always like to put that in perspective when you think about the 80,000 children that we are held responsible for in our school system. I always want to do that because we realize that our operating budget as a city is about $2.8 billion. That's for 600,000+ people in our city. I also want to remind us that our state legislators have deliberated, and I had the pleasure of working to bring back $1 billion to build new schools in our city. We're on target to build more new schools in Baltimore City than the entire state. But we also realize that the Kerwin formula is important to the city of Baltimore. So as I attended the build meeting last night, I made a commitment on all of our behalves that we will continue to work and fight for our students in our system to increase funding through Kerwin. So I'm excited about the work that we will continue to do together. I am pleased by this budget. I'm excited that we've invested in public transit. Our libraries remain open longer hours than they were before, almost in every community, 40 hours, and we've made libraries fines go away. That doesn't mean that you get a book and don't forget to bring it back and don't lose it because you still will have to pay for it. But we want our children to have access to opportunity, which is why this budget also reflects our commitment to making Baltimore City Community College free. And oftentimes I think what is missing is the fact that Baltimore leads in so many ways. Making Baltimore City Community College free is an example because now the state follows us, making state community colleges across the state free. So we're a leader in many ways. We've got a lot of work to do as a city council, working with you, Mr. President, Madam Comptroller, all of our city agencies. We know that we can push our city forward. Ultimately, I believe that this budget finds the right balances between fiscal prudence and social responsibility that serves the citizens of Baltimore. The other conversation at Build last night was around the need to make sure that we reflect affordable housing in our city so that when we're giving away TIFs, and not really giving away because TIFs help to stimulate investment in our city, that we make sure that affordable housing is available and that we are getting more than just buildings in return, that we're helping to create communities. So again, Mr. President, thank you for your cooperation, Madam Comptroller, City Council people, all of our agency heads, and my own departments for working so diligently for what I believe is a balanced budget. Thank you.
Madam Controller?
Yes. I'd also like to thank Mr. President. I'd like to thank Councilman Costello, the entire City Council, and Madam Mayor, and the Finance Department for all the hard work and effort that culminates with the passing of the fiscal 2019 budget. Today, the board will approve the fiscal 2019 ordinance of estimates, which comprises, among other things, the operating and capital budgets for the city and the real and personal property tax rates for the city. The leadership and the employees of the City of Baltimore will utilize the operating and capital budgets to continue to provide services to our communities and to spur growth and development in the areas of housing, green spaces, economic opportunity, and public education. The mayor's budget provides strong support for public safety initiatives, both in law enforcement as well as anti-violence and outreach programs. We are encouraged by the strong commitment to reduce violence and property crimes, and we are equally encouraged that the mayor and the police are placing a high priority on improving accountability, continued support of public schools through the funding of the second year of the $90 million commitment, which is in addition to an annual recurring funding, along with increased capital funding for the building and system repair and maintenance, demonstrates the city's commitment to our future. These commitments are in place as we wait for the results of the Kerwin Commission's evaluation of education funding formulas. Coupling these efforts with the mayor's vision that addresses neighborhood revitalization will serve to provide a safe, quality learning environment for our children and their families. The mayor's capital budget program, which is well above $600 million, provides investments in the areas previously mentioned and also in our utility infrastructure, public safety, and libraries. These investments will improve the quality of life for our citizens. Lastly, I strongly support the mayor and her team's decision to extend the 10-year financial plan out to 2028 for the purpose of making decisions and preparing for contingencies in the event the current economic climate softens and requires us to more closely manage our resources. Preparing now helps to mitigate the adverse effects of an economic downturn and allows our city to provide the essential services our citizens rely on in their everyday lives. In sum, the fiscal 2019 budget will support all of our desires to move Baltimore forward. Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank my staff, they're in the back, especially Kara Kuntz, who worked very closely with Chairman Costello. I want to thank Councilman Costello for just doing a great job as chair of the Budget Committee. He kept me informed of just about everything, all the requests by the council members that they wanted as priorities. I want to thank the administration for working through those priorities and making sure that we agreed to do most of the priorities that we put forth. I just can't say enough about Chairman Costello. The energy that he have is just, I don't know. I thought I had a lot of energy, but this guy is like the energizing bunny. He just keep ticking and keep going. So I just want to thank you for being that chairman that paid attention to every little detail. I mean, he was driving me crazy with some of it, but, you know, he paid attention to every little thing, and he alerted me to everything that he felt was important that I should know, and that's what a good chairman should do. I want to thank Mr. Bob Simony, who it was a pleasure, I mean a real pleasure, working with you. We couldn't even really get on you like we used to get on the budget person, because you were very honest with us, you was open, you answered all of our questions that we had, even though we didn't like some of them, you know, you answered them. And we worked very well with you, and I know that I can speak for the chair of the Budget Committee that it was a pleasure working with you. It was a breath of fresh air. So to our finance director, thank you for picking someone that this council could really trust and that we could really work with. It was really a joy working with Mr. Bob Simony. And to my council members, you know, I thank you all for standing behind me as council president to make sure that we got this budget done. I didn't want to call no extra council meetings to get the second and third reader, and you guys just stood up and say, hey, where can we help? We'll make sure we get the 12 votes and we get it done. And to the mayor's staff, thank you guys for working with us and getting back to us on critical issues that was important to my council members, because I can't do this work by myself. I need each and every one of my council members to stand with me and be supportive of me. We don't always agree on everything, but one thing I can say about my council, we always come to agreement with what's best for the citizens of Baltimore, and that's what's most important, how we all rally around each other, even though we might not agree on a common goal, but the real goal is serving our citizens, and we rally around each other, and we really do a good job in doing that. So I just want to thank you all again, and we still have more work to go. You know, the mayor was committed last night to foot patrols. That's something that's dear to my heart. And I was happy to hear you, Madam Mayor, make that commitment for foot patrols. We need to get the officers out of the cars into the community where they can really engage our community. And that's the only way you're going to foster that good relationship, by engaging our residents in the city of Baltimore. And we had a great conversation with the Bill organization. It wasn't adversarial at all, because most of the things they want is what we want. We want a safe city where our kids can learn, grow, and play. We want good schools like any other system throughout the country have good schools. And we pledge to go and work with the CEO, the teachers and principals to fight for the Kerwin Commission recommendations. And we're going to do that. And I'm asking my council colleagues to stand by, because we're going to go down as a team to let them know that Baltimore City Public Schools are important to us, because we have to stop the school to prison pipeline. And how we do that is put more resources to be proactive rather than being reactive, so that we can reduce the violence in our city. And we made a commitment to look for more training programs that's going to produce jobs at the end, not just a certificate like some gentleman was saying. We want to make sure that we're producing real jobs, because the key to reducing crime is people working so they can take care of their families. They want the same thing that we have. We have jobs, we can go on vacation, we can buy things for our kids. They want the same thing. So once we put these opportunities in place for them to be gainfully employed and work with these companies who say that they have jobs that can't be filled, we want to work with them to get their prerequisites so that we can get the people trained to get these jobs, so we can get Baltimore to working. Baltimore is a great city. Our better days are ahead of us, and working with the mayor, the comptroller, and our council, I think Baltimore is going to be the greatest city in America once we put all the pieces to the puzzle together. And it's going to be a place where people want to live, where we're going to grow our population again. And I just want to thank you again, Madam Mayor, for a budget that we didn't have to fight for. You listened to us last year, and you put all those baseline priorities in place. So we didn't have much to really fight over with this budget, but council people had certain priorities they wanted for their districts, and you gracefully acknowledged that and helped us to deliver those. So I just want to thank you again, and thank everyone who helped us to get this budget done. So now with that, Madam Mayor, I will entertain a motion to certify the tax rate.
Yes, Mr. President, right before I make that motion, let me just remind you all that we're continuing on the path of the last administration, and that was to reduce our property tax by 20 cents by 2020. So having said that, Mr. President, I will make the following motion. I move to certify the real property tax rate at $2.248 of $100 of assessed value, and the personal property tax rate at $5.62 per 100 of assessed value, to support the budget for fiscal year 2019.
I have a motion and a second to approve the certification of the fiscal 2019 real property tax rate at 2.248 to 100 of assessed value, and personal property tax rate at 5.62 per 100 of assessed value. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The motion carries. Madam Mayor, I want to go back so people won't say that we did something wrong. It's a 2019 real property tax.
Okay, I thought that's what I said.
Okay.
I did.
All right. Okay, you did. I thought you said 18.
No.
Okay, all right. Well, my ears deceived me, okay? There'll be no more business before the board. We will adjourn until its regularly scheduled meeting on Wednesday, June the 13th, 2018. Thank you.
Thank you all.
I thought she said.